They might be giants. Join us.
Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's giantest music nerd. Album review time. This is why I love reviewing music, because I get to talk about some bands that I love to a group of people who are as excited about music as I am. So this review is of the new album Join Us from They Might Be Giants, a Brooklyn band started by singing-songwriting duo John Flansburgh and John Linnell. The Johns. And easily, these guys are one of the nerdiest bands on the planet. But we know around here that being nerdy is a huge compliment. In fact, I think if it wasn't for my nerdiness, I wouldn't enjoy songs about shoehorns or cranes or cows or beards or racist friends or mammals or skulls. This band's lyrics and song subjects have always made them stand out, but they've been paired, usually, with great pop hooks, fantastic melodies, bold experimentation, and an unmistakable personality. They Might Be Giants may not always come out with a great record, but they have never made a faceless record. Even after all of the music that I've heard in my very short lifetime, They Might Be Giants stuff still ranks as some of the most fun music I've ever heard. For me, it stops just short of being a joke. For some, these guys will be too absurd to take seriously, but I need some absurdity in my life every now and then, and They Might Be Giants is the perfect place to get it for me. Now lately, these guys have been putting out a lot of kids' albums, a lot of children's music, but still, it's not even like their adult music plays to an adult sensibility. They're usually playing to the kid in every adult on the face of the planet. But if you are counting children's albums, Join Us, if I'm correct, is They Might Be Giants' 15th studio album. There's been a lot of evolution up until this point, but I would say the band's recent stuff, their recent adult albums, have been pretty great at translating their eccentric personality through some modern production and a full band. Now, it's not like They Might Be Giants are going back to their roots on this LP or anything, but Join Us really does come down to sounds and songs for me. The songs are pretty on point. Not everyone is a hit, but there's a lot of classic They Might Be Giants on here. Some tracks are solid but very simple. Others with very difficult, weird, and complexly layered vocals that are singing in rounds. Spots that are almost hilarious, spots where songs pause, ridiculously esoteric lyrics like on Old Pine Box, or even moments that would probably be hilarious to everybody, like the track When Will You Die? Yeah, that's about wishing someone was dead. And there are great hooks coming from both Linnell and Flansburgh, like on the really jazzy Protagonist or the small-scale rock anthem Kanagahari. There could have been more experimental tracks on here, though. These guys are known for really working outside of the box and being somewhat zany, but I guess I don't get enough of that. There are two different sets of lyrics going on in the left channel and the right channel on Spoiler Alert. That's pretty funny. Dog Walker has pitch-shifted vocals, which, I don't know, I didn't care for. It's different ground for these guys, but ugh. And there's a spot on here where John Flansburgh is narrating the voice of a raindrop on Cloisonne, where he just all of a sudden jumps into a falsetto, hey, I'm the raindrop. So, you know, not only is this thing not really pushing all that many boundaries for They Might Be Giants, but to be honest, the sound here on this album really is not doing it for me at all. Now, the sound isn't terrible. It's not like it's terrible quality. It's not like it's mixed weird or anything like that. I guess for the first time, the instrumentation behind the Johns' songs sounds a little generic. It's not like I mistook They Might Be Giants for another band or anything like that, but on a lot of these songs, the sound of the guitars, the bass, the drums, and the keyboards, they kind of feel like they could have been generated by like any group to me. On earlier records, the guitars have sounded fuller. The woodwinds and brass have sounded more eccentric. This just doesn't sound like the usual level of color and quality. Join Us kind of sounds like a live session recorded at a radio station or something like that, not a fully completed and detailed and rich piece of studio work. In comparison, the Elves and the Spine are way less flimsy sonically. It's kind of like hearing my usual They Might Be Giants, but there's like a thin film of dust on it that like I'm rubbing at it with extra listens and it just will not come off. And don't get me wrong, there are spots on here where the songs are so good that the sound, the plainer sound, I guess, doesn't really bother me. I mean, is the band maturing? Are they trying to distance themselves from the quirky label that people always throw onto them? Are they trying to put together something that is simpler, more skeletal, something that's easier to execute live? A yes to any of these questions on paper sounds great, sounds really good. But if it's gonna make an album like Join Us, I mean, I'm gonna have to advocate being immature, being quirky, and throwing all of the complications into overdrive. So I'm feeling a 5 to a 6 on this record. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not going to go down in history as one of my favorite They Might Be Giants albums. But if this is the first time you're hearing of the band, or if for some reason you've heard of them before but you haven't checked them out, don't let this album deter you if you do check it out and you don't like it. If you're going to get into these guys, their first 4 albums, you cannot go wrong. They sit proudly in my personal collection, especially Lincoln. If you haven't heard this album, please check it out. To not like it is to not like fun. But if you're a They Might Be Giants fan, let me know what you think of this LP. Love it? Hate it? Why? Do you feel the same way I do about the sound of this record? And if not, let me know. And what do you think of the songs on this thing too? Thank you for watching. Anthony Fantano. They Might Be Giants. Forever.